Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Join Dave Sirus and Maryssa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Did he look like syphilitic back then too?
No, no, he aged badly. But that's what I'm saying. We need to come from a place of honesty.
I honestly would never have banged him.
I don't believe you.
You don't have to.
I'm picturing it right now, and you seem happy.
I don't know. I think you're thinking of Omarosa, which is kind of racist.
It is racist to compare any black woman to Omarosa. Yes, it's. I forgot who it was, but someone was complaining that we're talking about Omarosa on Black History Month. It was a black woman on MSNBC or on CNN.
Okay.
With Don Lemon, and she was like, "It's Black History Month. Why are we talking about Omarosa?"
Have you guys been watching that on Big Brother?
No, I don't watch.
I don't really watch this is the first time I've ever watched it, but she's been talking about being in the White House and Trump and how we should all be scared and it's all worse than everyone thinks it is and it's just all gonna blow up and it's the first time I've ever watched the show, but it's actually the first time I've ever found her to be even remotely
sympathetic.
Yeah, sympathetic, engaging, honest.
Well, the right is now, they're attacking her for all the reasons you should be attacking her because she is a histrionic, pathological liar. But of course, let them do that because once again, you're like, okay, why did he fucking hire her? Why was she working in the White House then? I mean, at SNL, we did a joke about Omarosa working in the White House.
Right.
We had Sashir play Omarosa, and then he goes, "Thank you, Omarosa," and everyone laughed, and then it fucking happened.
Right.
By the way, that sketch...
You might have been planted the seed.
One of the worst sketches on that episode because he took out the punchline of the sketch, which was supposed to be, when I first saw this sketch, I hated it. So I fired the writers and wrote my own sketch. But we had to cut that part, making the whole sketch make no sense.
Now Trump was in that sketch?
Yeah, that was when he hosted.
Did you meet him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a half-hour alone with him.
And?
I signed an NDA. So... We're recorded right now. I can't really. I don't think I should say anything.
So did Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, but Michael Cohen, is that his name? Hasn't been lying about me. So no, but I can tell you that I was. Yeah, we had the regular meeting where I sat down with him and I told him my idea, which is that I wanted him to play Justin Bieber's Ghost of Christmas Future. The 70-year-old Bieber who, is just basically that St. Peter would bring him to meet him and say, this is who you're going to become. Don't you want to change your ways? And then he leaves him alone. And as soon as St. Peter walks away, Bieber goes, don't listen to a word he says. You're killing it. We're still smoking weed every day. We're still banging 19-year-olds. Keep doing what you're doing.
Was there anything appealing about him? He was already a candidate, right?
Well, that's why he was there, because he was in the primary, and no one thought he could win, so no one thought it was a big deal to have him on.
Was there anything about him that you liked?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Is he the kind of person...
Not charismatic, not engaging, not focused. I shouldn't even... and I'm talking about him as a candidate in general, not that week. I'm just talking about him, how I observe him, outside the job. I saw him as an extremely... unfocused, out of his depth person who has no business being where he is and is going to make the show terrible. Excuse me. I mean, in the show.
No, well, let me get something clear.
Meet the press.
So Hitler must be stopped unless you've signed a non-disclosure.
Look, if I had signed
I'd like to stop the Holocaust. But
I
have an NDA.
Trust me, nothing I say about what happened that week is going to really turn the tide. It's not like he did anything that you'd be like, he said what? No.
I would like to save all the Muslims and Mexicans who live in America from being rounded up and placed in internment camps, but an NDA is an NDA.
Yeah, well, believe me, if I saw something there that I thought would take down his presidency, I would let myself get sued.
Why are we
helps.
talking about ICE? ICE is the big problem. Everything's a joke in the Trump administration, I think, except for ICE.
What immigration is doing right now?
What they're doing to our Hispanic brethren. I think the people who work for ICE are cowards, you know? They are rounding up students, kids. They're following children home and then getting their parents. They arrest people under the cover of a federal courtroom, in the safety of a federal courtroom, because some woman is there who doesn't have documentation because she's charging her husband with assault, and ICE shows up. They're cowards. If they were real law enforcers, they'd go round up the gang members with the guns.
Right, but
they're cowards.
But that would be hard. Everyone keeps talking about MS-13, and they're saying I had this argument with someone who was saying, that a lot of it is true. MS-13, not the biggest gang, not the bloodiest gang, just the one that he decided to focus on because they're illegal immigrants often, or just immigrants in general, and that they're saying, well, they're killing a lot of black people in their neighborhoods. That they're trying to take over, the gangs, and they're trying to, exterminate the other gangs. So, that's bad. So go shoot them.
Right.
Go after them.
No.
You can't expect ICE to be as brave as a teacher in Florida and take a
bullet. Yes, exactly. And what's
have you seen the fat pigs who work for ICE? I mean, they're slobs. It's a union job. I'm for unions, but the people who work for ICE are cowards. And any woman who is married to somebody who works for ICE, anybody who has somebody as a boyfriend or a girlfriend who works for ICE, you should leave them.
They're in it for the dental.
And what's really disgusting about the immigration issue right now, the way that we're trying to ramp up and kick all these people out who previously would have given stays, it's the exact same reason why Trump demands and will not let go of the idea that he wants to make our nuclear weapons 10 times what they are. It has nothing to do with anything we need. It is simply pandering to what he assumes the people who go to his rallies want to hear. So there is nothing practical about the wall, about the increased ICE deportations, about his need to revamp the nuclear program. He just wants to make those people clap more.
Well, Obama was really tough on immigration.
Yeah,
also,
he was.
And he was kind of like quietly deporting a lot of people.
That's what people hated about it, that it was quiet.
They
want to celebrate it.
But they
want to taunt people with it.
At the same time, like kind of like going back to ICE with their detainment facilities. Like I had been watching like videos on YouTube, and a lot of these facilities do they look like animal kennels. Like they're slabs of concrete. Some of them are outdoors. They're mixed gendered, like mixed age groups. You'll have like women, children, like mixed in with like groups of men. And
far away from a public defender. You can't get a lawyer to get out there.
Right. Especially like in like New Mexico and Arizona, and it's like dog kennels. Like they literally look like dog kennels. And I don't know. I don't know what is going to come about with all of that. I mean, I feel like with this Haiti, Africa, shithole countries thing, that they're going to start like rounding up black people, and like I'm going to have to start proving that I'm actually American and not African, and try to tell one of those clowns, hey, I'm actually from Westchester. Do you hear this voice?
Well,
it's not going to work.
No offense, Marissa, but they don't need to resort to immigration to keep arresting black people. They have lots of other ways of doing that.
Where are they going to send me? I don't even know where I'm from.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
Prison.
Is like they're happy to keep you in the American prison system, in terms of how they figured out how to keep black people in jail.
Yeah.
They don't need to mix things, because why would they want to deport you? They want to use you as prison labor.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use you as slave labor for the next 20 years.
Why do you think I avoid all the marches, man?
Yeah.
I would be afraid to march.
I don't do any of those marches.
I mean, talk about checking your privilege. As as a white man, we have a responsibility to call the men and women who work for ICE pigs. But if you're a person I would be afraid if I were a person of color to take on ICE, or I would if I were a newly arrived citizen, I'd be afraid to take on ICE. But I think people who work for ICE are pigs.
And they're also taking people that are American citizens that, kind of like if they don't have their ID with them or whatever. And to your point, like trying to get
I saw Born in East L.A. It happens every day.
ICE is un-American. We should deport ICE. There should be a travel ban for ICE. And it's not being discussed. Russia, yes, Russia has made a mockery of our democracy, supposedly. I think it already is a mockery. I think, anything to get rid of Trump, I'm for. But
I mean, I think it was a mockery, like with Bush. I mean,
how about letting black people vote in this country?
Well, like you said,
we wouldn't have to worry about Russia. They talk about how these troll farms were convincing African Americans that Hillary created the whole idea of a super predator, and Hillary is a racist, and the Russians were telling black people to stay home. Well, the Republicans made it impossible in some swing states for black people to vote.
Yeah.
So that's the issue, not Putin, not these troll farms.
Same with gerrymandering, making sure that that black people don't have the ability to even contribute to your electoral college number just by making sure that they just change. I mean, the gerrymandering thing.
The fact that
shouldn't
prisoners
exist.
in Florida, if you're a prisoner, you can't vote. Once you're released and you've done your time, they've scrubbed the voting rolls.
And if you have the same last name as one of those prisoners, you can't vote.
From another state. Mm-hmm. They take away your right to vote. So anything to get rid of Trump, anything to put Jared Kushner behind bars. But spare me your platitudes about Putin destroying our democracy. We've done a pretty good job of destroying our democracy.
Well, it wasn't good before, but things can always be worse. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. And I'll say about
if
the
we
left,
allowed black people to vote, if we allowed people who had prison records to vote, we wouldn't be susceptible to hacking from Russia.
That's very likely true. But I want to say this is what I hate about the left sometimes. Everything's always the worst it could be. And I'm always thinking things are so capable of being worse than they are. Like, you have so many people say, oh, it doesn't matter what Trump does because this president was so bad. And it's like, no, you are completely delusional about how horrible things could potentially be. Everything is about degree. And that's where we lost this election because so many people said, well, I'd rather not vote at all. There's literally no one worse than Hillary to me. And it's like, yeah, but in practice, you're a goddamn idiot because you have no idea what you've actually signed on for. By the second that you say, I give up, you let people so much worse than the people who are trying to get your vote take over. And
they wanted to give it to Jill Stein,
Yeah, because she was going to fix everything. I know. Dr. Stein.
Yes, Dr. Stein.
Not Jill Stein, M.D., Dr. Jill Stein for some reason, who is, of course, we now know, a Russian shill who accepted money and was helped simply because she was someone else they thought could stop Hillary Clinton. And what's amazing? Republicans all our lives have been the hardliners with Russia, of course, and I know that's an old thing to say. Did you ever imagine that they would be defending Russia on this level, or that they would be this comfortable with Russia trying to install a far-left candidate also? But also the idea of they hate Hillary so much. Had they ever stopped and thought, why does Russia hate her so much, and why does that not make me like her? What is so bad about her that Russia wants her out, and why are you on Russia's side of that? She obviously did something. There was something about her that made Putin terrified.
Right, and she was the only one that actually scared Putin. But
she's a hardliner. She was a hardliner for Russia, which is the thing that Republicans used to like before they became just these puppets of winning an election.
Right, but you can only be a hardliner if you have a penis.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're a bitch.
Yes, that's true. That is true. And sometimes even not then.
It is strange, though, because especially, kind of growing up in the 80s, Russia was always our nemesis. It was, always, every villain was always Russian. And then now hearing people saying, well, what's so bad about being friends with Russia? It's like, what are you talking about? Being
friends is the term they use for allowing them to attack our our election system.
Yeah.
Whoa. It's great to be friends with the Russians. Just don't be friends with Putin. Don't be friends with the oligarchs. The Russian people are fine. It's the kleptocracy, the 20 people who control Russia.
Yeah, when we talk about what's wrong with Russia, we are talking about like a dozen people and
Murderers.
what they're doing. Yeah.
Mobsters.
Yeah. A kleptocracy.
It's like judging America by the Mercer family and the Waltons,
which
and the Koch brothers.
they do.
They do.
Well, they should.
And no, it's but you know, you have to.
Am I allowed more water?
You have to hold the Russians to some task, which is that they seem fully supportive of Putin. They seem to be very supportive. There are people who will tell you that the polls are fake. I don't think the polls are fake. I think Russians are on Putin's side, and they're letting him do whatever he wants because they want to regain the power and the respect that they had under the Iron Curtain.
Navalny, the Moscow politician, can't run for president of Russia. I mean, they don't have a democracy.
No, they don't. They do not. And that's why he hates Hillary, because Hillary was the only person with the balls to say Russia is not a democracy. And that's why he wanted to make – that's why Russia has had a campaign of trying to eliminate the concept of democracy. He wants people to no longer believe democracies exist.
Are we a democracy?
To an extent. We're a democratic republic to an extent.
We're a flawed democracy. I mean, our democracy was downgraded.
Yeah, it was, and it deserved to be. We are no longer the
When was it downgraded?
Recently.
Yeah.
When?
Like
the last few months.
Yeah.
By whom?
You could Google it.
I forgot the name of the organization, but yes, there was.
Okay. I thought you were just saying.
No, there was a real like scorecard of.
Well, you know that Jimmy Carter, who verifies elections all over the world, said in 2004 that if he were called in to verify an election here in the United States, the same way he has to go verify an election in Haiti, he couldn't verify the election results here in America.
Well, that's fair. And if Jimmy Carter says something, you should trust it.
Because he was a peanut farmer.
He was a great man. Is a great man.
Who put solar panels on the White House like a traitor. And Reagan took those right down and said there's not going to be any goddamn conservation in this White House.
He was the Republican Jimmy Carter. The myth about the Republicans and Reagan is they're tough and they're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. But it was Jimmy Carter who told the American people what they needed to hear. Turn your thermostat down. Stop
wasting gasoline.
Yeah. Wear a sweater.
And that's why George W. Bush learned that lesson. And he said, I don't care how bad the economy is. I don't care how 100% sure we are that we're going to raise taxes. Just don't tell them. Just say we're not going to raise taxes. We're not. Doesn't matter.
Because they're protecting about 20 families.
Yeah, pretty much. But they did raise taxes. That's George H.W. did raise taxes after saying, read my lips, no new taxes.
So did Reagan.
Because
Reagan raised taxes.
Well, at what point, though? Reagan lowered taxes towards the end of his term, and that's how we got
If you go back and look, he raised taxes more times than he lowered them.
Okay. No, I didn't.
And he increased the deficit. I think he tripled the deficit by the time he left office.
Well, there's also big arms buildup at the time. There's factors there.
And cutting taxes.
Yeah. Well, you're not supposed to cut taxes while going to war. That's the lesson George Bush didn't know. There were a lot of lessons that seemed to be.
Plus, you had to pay for wars that we didn't know we were in.
Yeah, people used to pay more taxes for war, and by people I mean every human being up until the year 2003. There was a thing called you pay. The war cost money. You had rations and bonds, and people sacrificed because that's what you did in exchange for the war, not just making it be something we go in debt for.
Now we shop. That's what George W. Bush told us to do.
Right. Don't change your habits. Go out and shop for democracy and buy those freedom fries.
I didn't consider that to be a very negative thing to say, because I think what he was just trying to say is don't let the economy tank because you're scared. So I don't criticize that.
How about bringing back the draft?
Well, I know you want to bring back the draft, but you want it for
because I hate my kids.
Right. Yes. Well, if we brought back the draft, yes, you'd have a lot more rich people have a different attitude about who we send to die.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it, because their kids would never go. I mean, they would just send their kids off to college or to another country or start a business for them. Their kids would never go, especially now that they're probably going to start drafting women. And I think that it's funny because I had this conversation with people, and they're like, oh, well, they're never going to start drafting women because, Trump's daughters would have to go. And I just laughed in their face. Like, do you honestly think that Trump is going to... He didn't go himself. You think he's going to send his little girl to, like, go get her nails broken?
He'd send Tiffany. He would send Tiffany.
Bone spurs are serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember which foot, though.
Really?
Yeah. They asked which foot it was. He doesn't remember.
It's like the one that's up your ass.
Isn't that adorable? In ancient Rome, which I believe there are things you could criticize about the ancient Romans, the torture and the slavery and all that. But you know what the ancient Romans did? If you wanted to be a senator, if you wanted to be the guy with the slaves and the money and the food and one of the few people, because you know how hard living was then, so it's like to live in what we would consider luxury, you probably had to be in the backs of hundreds of people.
Right.
If you wanted to be that guy and you wanted to have that kind of decadence, it meant you absolutely had to be on the front line of the war. The senators were all wearing their plate armor and holding their swords and fighting, not in the back, not put on a show. That was the one thing. If you wanted to be in power in ancient Rome, you had to fucking kill people with your bare hands. And I respect that. I mean, obviously, every single person they fought in war was innocent. They shouldn't have done it. But at least the leaders had to put their own asses on the line.
There was skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Senators got skewered on a battlefield. Kings died on battlefields. At least then you'd have a little bit more respect for our senators. If I got to watch Mitch McConnell put on his grandfather's armor and haul himself out to a battlefield, at least you'd be like, okay, I'm okay with him voting.
You know that Mitch McConnell was thrown out of the Army.
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know why?
No.
Well, according to my sources, there was some inappropriate touching with another man.
What?
Yep.
What sources?
Well, Google it. Google Marco Rubio.
Google
Marco Rubio pleasuring men in a park for money.
Oh, well, that I've heard.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that I know.
You knew that.
How are these not more popular?
Because
those things kind of got squashed, but like allegedly, like back in like the 90s, like Rubio was like really into foam parties.
Foam parties?
Yeah.
That's where you go to a nightclub and they pump out a bunch of suds like from like soap, and it becomes like a wall of suds that you can like walk into. And what happens is you can create like a little cocoon inside one. You can basically fuck someone on a dance floor because the suds are blocking everything. That's a foam party. But it's not necessarily just gay, because I've been to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not gay.
David.
Antonio Sabato Jr. You know about his gay porn, right?
Well, that was softcore.
No.
It was softcore.
Did you see Testosterone?
No,
I saw it credits to credits, and I'm telling you there was no penetration.
And it was hardcore.
Was it? No, really? Was it?
I was hard.
Was that a...
to the core.
Wait, was that... Wait. Are you saying what did we see? Wait. Are you saying that Antonio Sabato Jr. is in a movie with actual penises?
Yes.
Like where you see
he simulates
penises.
Yes.
Hard.
Yes. Testosterone.
Penises.
Yes.
Really?
Antonio Sabato Jr., underwear model, Trump spokesman, soon to be a congressman from California. What are you Googling there?
Oh, I just found out. It's something that said Mitch McConnell court-martialed for sodomy, and I have to believe that might be a little bit of editorializing.
What's your source?
The source is a forum on Google Groups. I don't know how that's the first thing that comes up. That is just irresponsible of Google. That it's the first thing I put up when I put Mitch McConnell discharge is just a
discharge. He was discharged for a discharge.
Yes,
He was discharged for discharging.
Boy, did I know that you would not let that go.
We're spoon feeding. We already established this.
Yes. Good God.
Google Mitch McConnell gay.
Yeah, no, I see the accusations. Yeah, there's also, if you look closer, there's a Huffington Post. What is Mitch McConnell hiding? And
what is Michael Huffington hiding?
Yeah,
Ariana Huffington's husband, who showed up to underage boy parties. Did you know about that? Yes.
I didn't know that was an established can't be sued for slander fact.
It is look up Amy Berg's movie.
Was Kevin Spacey there?
Well, a known secret. They talk all about Michael Huffington showing up to boy parties.
Oh, God. I'm just getting upset because every single article about Mitch McConnell's military discharge is just it's like written in like colored Comic Sans font, so I can't even trust it. I'm trying to find one that's like a little bit less
salacious.
Yeah.
Next, you're going to tell me that former Republican Speaker Dennis Hastert was guilty of inappropriate
Was he
wrestling.
convicted?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Okay. Dennis Hastert, the guy who was brought in because he was so clean, because they needed to clean up their image. So they just brought in this old man who was supposed to be the one guy that was unimpeachable, and he was fucking boys.
Yes.
Little wrestlers. Oh, God. What is going on? Is it just because people who are that self-hating gays are the ones who work the hardest?
Well, what's up with wrestling?
What about it?
Did you wrestle as a kid?
A little bit.
Don't you think that's inappropriate?
Here's the thing about wrestling. That they say the same thing with fighting, with like jiu-jitsu and UFC fighting. They say, oh, fighting looks like sex. I always say, you're wrong. Sex looks like fighting. You're looking at it from the wrong direction. Fighting has existed before sex. I know that's probably not something I can say for a fact.
Fighting existed before sex.
I think they both kind of are just as old.
Well, how did we get here to fight then?
Well, I'm saying we were fighting each other before we were human beings. So, like, what we think sex looks like, which is like missionary position, that is definitely newer than fist fighting. Because chimps were fist fighting each other back when we were like proto-humans.
Chimps? I've never seen a fist fight between chimps.
They rip each other's faces off. Chimps are the most violent
Really?
things in the...
Yeah,
chimps are insanely violent. They ripped off that woman's face.
Oh, in Connecticut?
Yeah. No, they are warlike. Everything but the bonobos are very, very warlike.
She
They're just
burnt the
made
cake.
They're made of testosterone. Chimps are super violent, and I'm telling you, fist fighting has existed before missionary sex.
Well, I'm not saying like necessarily missionary sex, but sex had to exist before fighting. Otherwise, creatures wouldn't exist.
Well, no. Well, I'm saying yes. Reproduction would have existed maybe a little bit before fighting, but I mean, those are both things that are just at the most core of just life.
Well, Hope Hicks's boyfriends have combined the two.
Oh, you know.
My point is, I was good at jiu-jitsu, and that doesn't mean I wasn't doing it because I wanted guys on top of me. It's just fighting and
the balls
sex
just
happen to
ended
look
up
similar.
on his forehead.
Is it jujitsu? I
Yes.
thought that's Krav Maga.
It is jiu-jitsu. It is jiu-jitsu. I get it. We all get it. Krav Maga is the Israeli martial art, and there is actually a move called the Jew Claw. Did you know that?
I think Aziz Ansari pulled it on that woman.
He's Indian. I mean, Pakistani.
Didn't he do a thing with the claw?
Oh, yeah. He put his two fingers in the girl's mouth,
Yes.
which I got to say,
I never heard that move.
I really felt bad about myself. I thought I knew all the moves. I thought I knew what all the moves were.
Oh, everyone wants two fingers in their mouth.
No, if you were making
What
out
does
with a
that
guy,
Yeah.
is that bad? For a guy to shove his fingers in your mouth and then...
Yeah, I'm not really.
Where was he? How was he supposed to get them wet? What other possible way could he have?
Did he use the bathroom? Does he wash his hands? Like this is like
He
all
looks
mood
clean.
killers.
He looks very clean. Well, let's give him that.
I don't know.
He looks like a very clean man. Doesn't he look like he gets manicures?
Yes, and he understands women.
Oh,
I've
he's
read his books, and
definitely a lover.
he's a lover. And, I just hope his career isn't destroyed because he's a very funny man.
The look on your face has so much baggage attached to that statement. Like, as I don't
So salty.
because I don't know what you think of Aziz. I just know that you don't think good of anything.
I don't think good of anybody,
Yeah.
including myself.
Now, did you think that was over the line? That article, the article about him.
I think it was a poorly written article.
Yeah.
I do think that had it been written better, he could have been exposed as being a predator. But the woman who wrote it was completely out of touch. And then what she
said to Ashley Banfield really
Banfield-
showed that she was a classless person.
Yeah.
And she's not the woman. We're not talking about the accuser. We're talking
No,
about the
the
writer of the
yes.
article.
What did she say?
Oh, she Ashley Banfield criticized. You know, you can criticize Ashley Banfield. I don't think what she said was exactly right either. But the way that the woman responded by just saying, "Oh, no one under 50 cares what you say with your stupid highlights," and she was acting like a third grade bully.
Yeah,
and it really showed that this was not someone who should be writing articles.
Well, here's the thing: women her age, because I have a daughter her age, the woman who wrote for Babe. They're not taking it anymore. Whether or not you can't say to them, temper it, slow down. They're not taking it. And there's nothing you can do about it. And they don't care what you think. And you better accept that with women. Not you, but men need to accept the fact. Because I've learned this from my daughter. They don't care. They're not into incrementalism. They're not here. They don't want to hear two sides of the story. Men are pigs, and they are pigs, and they better watch it. That's the message I received from my daughter, and message received. So
but you agree with that?
I agree with that.
You want that, don't you? I mean,
and the woman who wrote for Babe, listen, as somebody who's old enough to be her father, I read that article, and I go, you're a pain in the ass. And there's a part of me that says, oh, shut up. But she's absolutely right. And Aziz Ansari is a pig. We all know that. And the article was poorly written. It was clumsy and inelegant, but it was true.
I think what we're saying is that the onus, that maybe criticism, is really about the writer of the article and not the woman that this happened to.
The woman was at the mercy of the writer. And you know what? The writer is in her early 20s, and she got a couple of things wrong. But the one thing she's right about is men better watch it.
I had.
Oh, be quiet.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Men are talking.
I know.
I was just explaining to you.
Can you mansplain it to me a little bit quieter? So I had so I read the article, and so I know that I'm older than these women, but I kind of felt like grow a pair. Like the whole thing that was kind of upsetting to me was just like, well, she says that she's like in his apartment and she doesn't want to make out with him, but then she ends up blowing him because he has power over her because he's like this like famous guy. And it's just like, grow a pair. If you don't want to suck the guy's dick, don't suck his dick. Leave. Like you didn't have to go there to begin with. You could have left after dinner if he was being a dick after dinner. I mean, I've been on so many dates that someone's a dick at dinner, I'm not going back to their place. And I've been on dates with guys that have been famous and rich and, you know, had great apartments. And if you're being a dick at dinner, I'm not going back to your place. Like,
and you know what? That speaks to this sort of lack of subtlety that everyone deals with now, that everything's all or nothing, everything, people makes things extreme, everything's brinksmanship, because you're right. She should have been more assertive. At the same time, there are a lot of women who are not more assertive. And the kind of argument you'll get from the alpha male dudes, the men's rights guys, are, you cannot take away our taking advantage of timid women and their reluctance to say no. So I think that there's a subtlety to the argument, because yes, women should learn to be less deferential and to be more assertive and not let men do what they want to them. But at the same time, people want to make that into, because it's a contrarian thing, they want to make that into that you're not saying the other side of it, which is it's not okay to take advantage of the women who don't know that. And so there's just it's a
look. But I also don't know that. So I'm just to play devil's advocate. Let's say I'm Aziz, met this girl, invite her over my place. We have wine. We have dinner. I bought her dinner. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go back to my place. Sure, I'll go back to your place. Now it's like, all right, well, she came back here a second time. Okay, like, oh, you don't want to fool around now?
Second time.
Yeah, so like
This is the first date.
So she was at his apartment twice that date, if I read correctly. So she met him at his place. They had wine at his place. Then
they went to dinner.
Then they went to dinner, and then they went back. So now for me, and again, granted, I know I'm like old school or whatever, but like, first of all, first date, I'm not starting the date off at your apartment. It sets a bad tone. Assertive or not assertive, like, it sets a bad tone. like, I don't know what their texting situation was, but if they were sexting back and forth and then your first date, you're meeting at his apartment, you're already setting the tone for the rest of the night.
He didn't. Can I?
Yeah.
Tell you what.
You can mansplain. Go on.
Thank you. Just any time I'm referred to as a man, it makes me feel good. But they met at the Emmys, and here's what I've noticed about stars: that a star walks into a room. Aziz Ansari is a star. And he walks into this room, and everybody is deferential to him because there's something he can do for you. If you're a man, if Aziz Ansari walked into this room and said to me, hey, I'm going to go get a drink. You want to go get a drink? I'd say absolutely, because he's Aziz Ansari. And then he says, hey, you want to come back to my apartment? I'm a man.
You're going to say, yeah, why not?
I'm going to say yes, because, I'm a comedy writer, and maybe this will lead to something. The same way this girl, who is a working woman, who's in her mind, she's...
Working in what sense?
I mean...
No, she works in the entertainment industry on some level. She was a photographer.
So
I get it. I know you're making a hooker joke. I'm just keeping things civil.
In her mind, she is...
We're spoon-feeding, remember.
This is not an office situation. She meets him at the Emmys, not an office situation. So it's nebulous. It's a gray area where she's thinking, maybe it's romantic, maybe it could lead to work, maybe it's both, maybe it could start off. She's entitled to be confused and intrigued by Aziz Ansari because he's powerful and he's famous. So she's allowed to go up to his apartment and be confused. She's allowed to suck his dick a little if she wants to and then say, I don't like the way this tastes. And maybe he'll behave differently after a glass of wine. All those things, it's very complicated, the seduction. Human beings are not machines. She cannot walk into this situation knowing exactly what she wants. She may be there for sex. She may be there for friendship. She may be there for business. She may be there for all three. She doesn't know, and she has every right not to know. He's older, and he needs to check his privilege and behave accordingly. He needs to know, this woman's a little starstruck, and I'm richer. I'm physically, financially, and socially more powerful. Well, he needs to check his privilege.
Except the physically part, but yes.
And so he's
a tiny man.
Well, but he needs to behave properly, and it's improper to manipulate somebody who is financially weaker, physically weaker, and socially weaker. That's from that article. I got a sense that that's what he was doing. I've seen men do that. I've seen it's predatory behavior. It's manipulating somebody who is.
And he worked on Bill Maher, so no.
Well, it's predatory behavior to take a woman or a man who is not as rich as you, not as successful or famous, and to flatter them and say, oh, I know of somebody who's higher. I mean, I'm not saying Aziz did this, but I know that game. You're trying to get a woman to have sex with you, but you can tell she's ambitious. So you say, I know somebody in Hollywood who might be interested in your photography.
Right, and I think I would have been more pissed off if that article alluded to any of that. But in the beginning, it was just kind of like she saw him there. She went to talk to him. He wasn't really paying her much attention. Then she kind of brought to his attention that they had the same camera. Then he's like, oh, then they started talking about the camera. But, it seemed to me that she was trying to insinuate herself onto him to begin with. And then when he's like, oh, now that she has his attention, then, they're texting back and forth. He invites her out to dinner. I'm sure that she knew that it was in more of a romantic capacity.
Why?
Well, let me ask you this.
But why can't it be both? Why can't she, as a young woman we're all taught to use everything we've got. Why can't a young woman use her whatever to, titillate Aziz Ansari?
You can, but then don't complain if he thinks you're about to suck his dick, because that's the impression you're giving him.
Is it okay to think that he didn't do anything he should get in trouble for? He didn't do anything that he should lose work for, but still think she had a right to publicly say that he made her feel this way?
Well, he didn't. He should still be allowed to work, and he didn't rape her. And it was in many ways, it was a bad date. And he basically did what every guy in Hollywood does. They use their power, fame, and money to manipulate women into having sex with them.
Is it possible that maybe he was a little railroaded by this, but it still is a positive because this was a Me Too kind of moment where a lot of guys who never imagined themselves doing something wrong said, "Oh wait, am I doing something
right?
I should be worried about?"
I think the conversation is more important.
Because I agree. I do not think he should lose work for this. I do not think this should.
It's more. There's no.
There's nothing criminal that happened.
Absolutely not. And even non-criminal things can still hurt you work-wise that I don't think this rose to the level of either. But
he is the paragon of virtue when it comes to femininity.
And that is an issue, yes.
He writes books about dating, and he was exposed, if this is true, and I think it is, he was exposed to
being a hypocrite, yes.
For being a hypocrite.
There's a certain hypocrisy. That is fair. That's very fair. Because, like, if Joe Rogan did this on a date, I don't think anybody would be saying, "Not Joe Rogan." And I like Joe Rogan. I don't have a problem with Joe Rogan. I'm just saying, like, he doesn't go around, writing books about, like, showing more respect for women and informed consent, even though he actually is kind of, for the world he lives in, it seems to me like he helps a lot of people be less of an asshole because I think the people who love him are the kind of people who need someone like him to kind of be like, "Hey, guys, calm down."
Right.
He's actually he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
But at the same thing, it's just like, it's like Doug Stanhope. Doug Stanhope is a guy who has an incredibly filthy, dark act. You wouldn't, if he had a story like this, people would be like, "Yeah." But if you're someone who goes around saying, "I'm the example you should use of how you should treat women," then it does rise a little bit to the level of maybe it is okay to point out that maybe you felt he was putting on an act.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I'm really on the fence about it. I don't know if I agree with whether or not this article should have happened.
I know what I like in sex. I'm not being funny here. I like a beautiful woman to pee on me. No, I like tenderness.
Okay, Donald, continue going.
I like tenderness, but I'm older. I don't remember being aggressive sexually. I can remember flirting, but I'm hardwired a certain way. I guess there are men who are hardwired to be aggressive sexually.
But I think that's a porn problem. I think that's like a whole nother ball of wax where younger guys watch so much porn that they think porn sex is the way that sex is actually supposed to be. And they're so accustomed to like the mechanics of like, well, this woman is just a series of orifices that I can jizz in, that they don't realize that sex is supposed to be like a connection and an intimacy.
Well, and there may be some women, from what my limited experience, there are women, for lack of a better word, who want to be pounded.
Sure,
there is.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, and there are so it's very complicated, and we should have. I think this Me Too moment, the virtue of it is the conversation about this. Maybe Americans could finally learn how to talk about something without it being right and wrong. And this is an opportunity for men to finally learn, and women to finally learn, what sex is. Because we don't discuss what sex is. We don't teach sex education. We don't teach what love is and how much it costs at the Bunnyland Ranch in Las Vegas. A lot of our sons are overpaying for sex in Las Vegas because they don't teach love and sex education properly in America, and our boys don't know how to make love to a woman.
And you learn it through porn, which on the plus side, though, porn has normalized oral sex in a way that it wasn't before.
Well,
I think that there's probably a lot more men and women
with throat cancer.
Performing oral sex, and analingus exploded basically under porn.
Is that necessarily a good thing?
Yeah.
I don't think ass should have been on the list.
Wow, a bunch of Pollyannas in this room.
Ask Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Michael Douglas got cancer from it and still endorsed it. So you're on the wrong track there.
I'm just saying that, look, nobody loves porn more than I do. I just wish I didn't.
I'm not saying porn is a great thing, but I don't know if it's necessarily made sex all that much worse overall, because I think it did normalize it for a lot of people. I bet there are married couples who have a better sex life because porn exists, because they wouldn't even know you could do some things. Once again, I'm against I do not like it when, porn becomes about like abusing women. I hate that. It takes me out of it. This stupid thing where guys like put their foot on a woman's head during sex. It's stupid. It's childish.
Where would I find that?
Everywhere.
Okay. Just for I want to see what that is.
He's writing notes for later. Just tell him your favorite website. So I don't know. I think that porn has been around for probably since the beginning of film, but I think that the difference is the accessibility of porn and the ages that boys and girls are starting to watch porn when they're like kind of in their formative years, when they're, preteens, whatever. Before, they would like see their dad's Playboy or something like that, and it was just pictures. But like when you have like an 11, 12-year-old boy that is watching a guy put his foot on a girl's head, he doesn't understand that like this is like something specific, and that this is not like every exchange of sex. This is now his idea of sex. And so now he's going to go when he's like 15, 16, trying to like hook up with the cheerleader, thinking that, well, this is how you do it. You put your foot on her head. And she's thinking, well, I guess this is how I'm supposed to have it because that's what they did in the movie, and I saw that, and it's okay for him to put his foot on. But they don't even know their preferences.
And they're hardwiring the brain. I mean, when you're that young, they're discovering that the iPhone and the internet and Pornhub, if you're of a certain age, before the age of 25, your brain is still growing and it's being rewired. So if you look at porn, it changes the receptors, your dopamine receptors in the brain.
Yeah, you're not going to get you're no longer going to be that turned on by just the slight things you might see. A woman wearing a dress that oh wow, before porn, little boys would lose their minds. If a woman's bathing suit came off in the ocean.
Right.
It would be one of your most vivid memories the rest of your life.
The nip slip in the Olympics this week.
Yeah.
The figure skater who
that poor girl.
She had a Janet Jackson moment.
An accidental one. Not whereas Janet Jackson was planned. No, I felt so bad for that woman.
Can you imagine, like,
millions of people
30 years ago, if that happened, it would be the biggest story.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
And I do agree that it was a little better back when it was like your dad's Playboys. But I think actually what you could do now, it would be really great if a 15-year-old boy wanted to watch porn, he first had to read a Norman Mailer article. Like, just had to read one of the, because
But of course, for you and me, that would be porn. I used to come.
Yes. Well, reading. Look, Playboy had some really good articles. They really did. I don't know why, but they really did. Like, people make that as a joke. They actually were great articles. That's not true.
Yeah.
There's some great journalism that came out of Playboy.
I don't know.
I swear to God.
He's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll agree with you then. But and with the oral sex thing, is that people have always been having oral sex. They just
not like this.
They just didn't talk about it. I mean,
they couldn't. They were having. There was a dick in their mouth.
Oh no, I think oral sex has exploded over the last
all over my face
over the last 10 years. I really do. I think that it's gotten way more normalized. I think people when people talked about the Aziz Ansari article, I remember older people were aghast at the idea that part of the game was that he went down on her for a little bit to try to get to sex. A lot of older people were like, I've never heard of such a thing in my life. Going down on a girl as a means to have sex with her on the first date. It seems like people, you talk to older guys, they'll say a blowjob is something they got every 5 years. That it was way harder to get that than having sex with a girl. And now it's much more of a stepping stone to it.
And that's a good thing.
Yes. Why is that bad?
Because people are happy.
We don't want people to be happy. They're happier because they're having more varied sex.
I agree with you. As somebody who was married for 30 years and now is dating again, it is a better world out there.
Sexually.
Yeah, it's. I think so.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, think about it this way. How many people were born, lived, and died without ever knowing what it was like to get rimmed? How many of those people's lives would have been richer if they knew what it's like to have ass to mouth? I'm not joking. I'm saying, like,
You're talking about the ATM machine?
yeah, I'm saying, isn't there a little bit of saying that maybe your lives did get a little better? I mean,
I don't want
how
it.
many closeted gay people had to go
I
their
would
whole
rather-
lives without seeing, what? I'm just saying. I feel like we had a little bit of puritanicalism that we didn't need, and that
I don't know. Because like even when you read like Oscar Wilde or any like old like French writing, they all talked about oral sex and dildos in like the 1800s. So I think that people were doing it. I think that
It was taboo, though.
The
average person probably thought. I mean,
but like sex in general is to talk about it in like mixed company or out loud and publicly is like always kind of been taboo and puritanical. But I don't think that people all of a sudden just started having oral sex.
Well, also, I think that oral sex probably got a lot more popular after the advent of plumbing. Oral sex was probably a lot harder to do before people showered. Is part of it too. I mean, people smelled like dog shit for the beginning of time up until like the late 70s.
But you didn't know that they smelled like dog shit.
They knew.
Well,
I don't
maybe.
care if you live in that world. You all know everyone stinks.
But everybody smelt like dog shit. So it was like they were,
I'm not buying that. I think everyone hated it. I think even though they were used to it, they're like, I think people back in then were like, I know no one talks about it and that it's been every day of our lives, but doesn't everything just stink?
No, I'm sure that
in medieval times, people usually bathed once a year.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty convinced that oral sex existed, cunnilingus existed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely convinced, though, that it wasn't until 1998 that the first anal fisting took place. I don't think anybody
I think that everything sexual that happened today has been happening through the course of human sexuality.
But how is anal fisting?
I mean, I'm
sexual?
I'm not in favor of it.
I mean, they probably had like bison fat at one point that they were using.
No, it's not something I'm happy with. I don't, I'm not.
Well, who is enjoying the anal fisting? The fistee or the fistor?
Both. There are people who like both. I don't know why.
Is there something on your knuckles that
It's
I don't know about?
It's a sense of power that they have. It's a weird.
I mean, am I not looking at my knuckles properly?
Don't get me wrong. It's not something I want to do. It is not something I would want to do.
Is there a G spot on my knuckles?
I get freaked out if a girl even hints at wanting to do that. But there's people who want. There are. I know guys.
How about you don't do it?
I know
How
guys
about
for a
just
fact.
because you want to do it?
Just because it can doesn't mean you should.
I'm sorry. I'm old-fashioned, and I think people should make love the old-fashioned way in a Vietnamese swing chair, taking a dump on each other's faces. I'm old school.
Yeah, better than fisting.
No, I just
It
think.
just makes it easier, I suppose.
I mean, I don't look.
Am I allowed to resist? Am I allowed to be appalled by certain sexual acts?
You can be appalled personally. You just can't tell people not to do it.
Can I tell people not to fuck a dog?
Yes, because a dog cannot
Can't
give
consent.
informed consent, which is why I hate Shape of Water. Because that fish man had the intelligence of a dog. I don't care what you think. I don't care how much you love that movie. Yes, it was visually beautiful, but that fish monster never showed more intelligence than any dog. I'm even going to say a smart cat. I had this conversation with somebody. They were like, oh, well, what about all the interplay they had when she gave him the eggs and he was so happy and they interacted about the eggs? I'm like, oh, so you think he's different than a dog because of how excited he got when she fed him? She fucked a dog. That thing was a prisoner. He couldn't speak. Where is the fish monster's Me Too moment? This is a love story. At this day and age, we're celebrating that this woman took advantage. He probably thought he had to get out. He probably thought, oh, I guess I need to fuck this janitor lady because she got me out of the prison.
But seriously.
I am serious.
All right. Is it wrong to fuck a dog?
Yes.
Why? If suppose the dog has an erection, the dog comes.
Well, then
that's consent
by the dog.
Well,
no, that's just like a reaction. That's like someone like hitting your knee and you have a reflex.
Oh no! There are dogs who want to fuck women. There's not. It exists. The dog. That's where they're dogs.
Okay, so
not
what is
impossible for a dog to
is
want
it
it.
against the law?
Yes. What is against the law?
Is it against the law for me to take a dog who hasn't been fixed and rub his genitalia till we both reach simultaneous ejaculation?
It depends on the state.
Seriously.
I mean, no, it does depend. It really does.
And is the dog? I'm being serious. Is the dog being hurt?
I think the dog is being molested.
The dog doesn't have a choice, and even look, if you tied me up and jerked me off, I would get an erection, right? Doesn't mean it's my choice. So it's just the fact that if there was a way you could actually communicate directly with the dog, it would be different.
Suppose I'm walking and a dog starts humping my leg.
Right.
And I decide to finish him off.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
go ahead and say, I don't think it makes you a monster. It's not something I'm in favor of, but it would be hard to argue that in a case like that where the dog was the aggressor, that the
dog initiated
hurting the dog. At the same time, though,
is a dog traumatized?
But if you saved that dog from a research lab and then kept him in your bathroom, he may have thought that he had to have sex with you to not be sent back to the lab where the guy who played Zod in Superman works. So I think that's a factor. So I'm saying even if the dog is not being molested, the fish monster was.
Well, I hate to pursue this, but
just because he married her.
In all seriousness, we're told not to pass judgment on any sexual acts. Well, who's being hurt by a dog being jerked off? Is the dog being hurt?
That's a similar argument to who's being hurt by incest, adult incest. That there are some things that we are against because they're usually bad.
What about the donkey show?
Well,
no donkey's ever consenting.
That's true. I mean,
is a donkey show illegal?
Just because they like it doesn't mean it's okay. Just because no one's getting hurt doesn't mean it's okay. Look, I'm acknowledging there is a lot of nebulous area when it comes to passive dog fucking, which is exactly the kind of phrase I wanted to say in the first episode of this show. So I don't know.
That should be the title.
I have said this before. I think that the ceiling of mainstream liberalism is being okay with getting fucked by a dog. I will admit that. I have said that I think that maybe that's the worst. Because I've heard people say, well, they've had that argument about like, are they going to let child molestation be okay if we continue allowing people to do what they want? I said, no, we never will. Liberalism will never be okay with that because it will always be about victimization. But there's a chance that we might let people get fucked by dogs. Yes. And you know what? If that's what we need to have a free society, that's one of the eggs that needs to be broken.
I think that the dog can't give consent. So I'm going to say no with the dog.
I agree. The dog can't give consent. Now, but as he's saying, though, what if the dog is the one making the decision?
Humping the leg, I think, is also just another reflex. Like they'll hump a garbage pail. They just hump shit. I don't think that's necessarily consent. That's like a fart.
I am coming down against dog sex here. I just want to say that I don't disrespect David for being in favor of it.
I'm not.
I get it.
I'm not in favor.
He's just posing a question.
I'm turned on by it.
Right.
And I'm.
Any particular species?
I
breed?
Like German Shepherds. There's a little fantasy of mine.
Okay.
Being
I guess
Jewish.
It's fitting, yeah.
Right. It's a full
it's
circle
the most
thing.
racist looking dog.
Yeah.
No, that's Dobermans.
But, a 7-year-old German Shepherd would be, 49?
Yeah.
And dog, I don't like underage dogs. I'm not.
No, it should be. I think it should. The dog should still have to be 18 in human years. It should be at death's door before it's legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, the infrastructure bill.
I'm just.
We could circle back to that.
You have to pay extra for the death rattle.
What?
I run
for the dog?
Oh, because
Yeah.
the dog. If the dog has
if you
the
get
18.
if you get the death rattle, that's a little extra. But I'm telling you, you haven't lived.
Wouldn't that be an unhappy ending?
Nice. Here's the reason it's bad. Actually, here's why it's bad to have sex with a dog, even if it wants to. Because dogs only exist because we made them. So they didn't ask to be born. Humans made dogs out of wolves. So if they want to, it's only because they're siding with their oppressor.
Yeah.
What we did to dogs and sheep is evil. It is. We turned an animal into another animal to suit our purposes.
Well, we breed dogs. We breed with sheep.
Oh.
It's a little different.
Well, only in Scotland.
Look how ugly we go when we're not the ones in the barrel. Look how quickly we turn against the other. The second we're not the one everyone's looking at.
But what did we do to sheep?
Sheep are the same as dogs. We made them out of goats.
Really?
Yeah, we made sheep out of goats.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How'd we do that?
Same thing we did with dogs. By
bred-
breeding them for meat and fur, or wool, we slowly turned mountain goats into what we think of as sheep. That's why when you clap your hands, they pass out, because their DNA is barely strung together.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. I didn't know that about the sheep.
So sheep are
Sheep
goats.
Yeah. Sheep are just goats that we bred over thousands of years to suit our purposes. So they became, think of what you think of as sheep. We made them docile. We made them fatter. We made their fur better. We made them into something that's better suited our purposes. Which it's kind of shitty that we did that. They should be really mad. And goats.
I had no idea.
Well, if they had thumbs, we'd be fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Now, is there such thing as lamb's milk?
I don't know. I don't know what I can't walk you through the whole process of which exact one. I believe it's one of the mountain goats that looks like a ram.
Okay.
That's one of the ram-looking mountain goats is the one that most sheep come from. But yeah, sheep were not like their own species or anything.
I had no idea.
No, I didn't know that was like a science project.
Certain animals change a lot and certain ones don't. Cats don't really change. The modern cat, we've done just as much breeding with it. It can still pretty much just mate with any wild cat in Africa. They're basically the same animal. But sheep, we managed to change a lot. And believe me,
What could you live without? Porn or cat videos?
I think that when cat videos overtook porn on the internet, because I don't know if you know that.
No.
A few years ago, they said that they marked it when it happened that cat videos officially became more popular online than porn. That to me felt like an extremely proud moment to be a human being. I really did feel that.
Really?
I really did feel that we're not complete dirtbags. Given all the options, porn is not the thing we want to see most.
That was the hope on the horizon.
No, it really was. It really was.
Well, I disagree with you.
Beautiful moment
no,
for humanity.
I disagree. I think humans are fascinated by cats, and we want to look at cats because there's another animal that's worse than humans. We're fascinated by cats because cats...
You are dead inside.
No, cats are despicable. They're murderers.
You are so dead inside.
Cats are bad people, and that's why we look at them.
I agree. I don't like cats. To be honest, I like puppy videos. I could do without the cat video, but...
Cats are funny.
But, the only cat videos I like is, don't they, hate cucumbers or something
like that? Yeah, they do,
that?
but that's mean.
So I just like watching
they think
those.
it's a snake.
So
they think they see a snake and they jump.
Yeah, the only cat videos I like watching are the cat with the cucumber, but otherwise I like puppy videos.
The way they react to cucumbers is hysterical.
They
hate it so much.
Yeah,
cats are funny.
Yes,
they're adorable and they're vicious.
And they've been the best thing about cats is how they were the cause of the Black Plague. Well, the absence of cats, because the Catholic Church started killing all the cats because some random lunatic said, "I think cats are aligned with Satan."
Really?
Some random
I could see
lunatic cardinal
I could see that.
said, "Oh, cats they act like the devil." Just one of these people just trying to look busy at work, and they actually did this. They started killing all the cats. What happens when you kill all the cats?
Rats.
Rat explosion. That's where the bubonic plague happened from.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cats have been saving the lives of humans for millions of years. That's why everyone had cats in their house. They kill vermin. They're supposed to be in the house to kill the animals that you couldn't kill without a cat before exterminators existed.
And they've checked the DNA. Dogs, we keep breeding dogs, and they're different from wolves
Yes.
on a molecular level.
They
Cats have not changed.
Right.
They're
the same they were.
And so you live 40 stories above the sidewalk in New York City with a cat that has nothing to hunt, they're going to be really neurotic.
Yeah,
They're
right.
really crazy. They're crazy.
They want so badly to kill little things. They're
Yes.
desperate to kill animals.
Yes.
You ever watch
They're
a
serial
cat?
killers.
You ever watch a
They
cat?
are. They really are.
Ever see a cat watch a bird? They start shattering their teeth.
Yeah.
Their teeth start banging against it. They want it so bad. They start drooling sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're just killing machines.
Yeah.
It's really hilarious.
I
watching.
think, you should be allowed to declaw your cat.
Well, you can, but you can never let it out of the house again.
I think you should let cats out of the house and declaw them so it's a fair fight with the birds. Because the birds, we're losing entire species of
Yeah.
birds. Cats are wiping out rodent populations, so declaw them. Let it be a fair fight.
I mean, I'm fine with the rodents, but I'm not fine with the birds. Like, they kill so many birds. And I think, like, they said something like the average cat can kill up to, like, 1,000 birds a year or something like that if they're, like, left outside.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is that right now.
And what about
the aver-
furniture? They
the-
kill more furniture,
The
more
average
couches than
the average
birds.
house cat needs its claws to contend with any New York City rat. Those rats are gigantic. They need to keep those claws. A one-on-one, the typical cat is barely beating a rat.
Oh my God.
They are monsters we've created. There's not. Someone was mentioning, they said, "Oh, we have mice." Someone in Manhattan, we have mice. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you do not have mice. There are no mice in Manhattan.
Don't go there.
They're literally.
Don't. I just saw that. I changed the subject.
You know what I'm saying, though, right?
Yes, I do. Stop.
They're baby rats.
No. I'm saying mice cannot exist in Manhattan because mice and rats never exist in the same ecosystem. The rats always kill the mice.
So what I'm saying is a baby rat.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying, if you think you see mice, you see rats because the rats have annihilated any public, not indigenous, but any mouse population is dead because if a rat is near it, it will kill the mice for the same resources.
Yeah.
So if you see a mouse anywhere,
Okay, stop. I saw a mouse.
It got released from. That means that mouse either got released from a pet store within the hour,
Okay.
or you saw a rat.
It was a mouse. It was not a rat.
There are no mice.
right.
There
It
are
was-
no mice in
It was a
Manhattan
mouse.
outside
It
of
was a
pet
cute
stores.
little
I am
mouse.
telling
It
you
was
right
Mickey.
now.
It
Was it
wasn't a
white?
rat.
Was it white?
No.
It was not a mouse.
It had red eyes.
That was a newborn rat.
Oh, my
If it was the
God.
size of a mouse, it's been alive for 6 hours.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they can't exist. Mice only exist where there are no rats in the ecosystem. Or not ecosystem, but in the area.
And they can't get rid of the rats in New York City.
They will. They'll figure it out.
Sure.
Well, they can't get rid of the rats because, rats are, once
What
they
about
get
if
in-
we just allowed cats to wander around like they do in Rome?
It would help. But you'd have to. The sewer would have to just the sounds the sewer would make would have that many cats. You would just hear.
And the smell.
Can I just tell a real quick story about a cat? Wait.
You walk into somebody's house, you know if they have a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
A friend of mine used to date a porn star, and in a house, and whenever she would come over, his roommates would be like, children about it. They'd be all excited. Ooh, the porn star came over. And then so they come over and they would want to like listen. And they said like the sounds this woman made were the most horrific, screeching, crazy sounds they've ever heard. They were scared. They couldn't even look at her when she left.
Sounds like ass fisting.
So and they were so freaked out, and then when she came back, like they couldn't even look at her. They were so freaked
Really?
out by the sounds this woman was making during sex. And she comes over, and they hear it, and they're just like, "Oh my God, what are they doing in there?" And then the next night, she didn't come over, but they heard it anyway, and they realized that was a stray cat fucking in the bushes that they thought was this woman. And have you ever heard stray cats fucking? To think that's a human being would be the scariest moment of your life.
Well, I do like the sound that a woman makes during sex.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to because it's a normal human sound.
But, the older I get, I like a little talking.
No, I like audible, The audible part.
I like to hear a woman going.
He's doing get it because she's gagged. I get it. We all get it. That is I like how long you took to set that up. I was really.
Do you know that I have a 23-year-old son who has now started to say to me, "Grow up." Like I'll call him with jokes, and he'll go, "Inappropriate." This is what's happened to my life. Where my children now,
Aren't you proud?
they're rolling their eyes at my jokes and saying, "You've crossed the line, Father."
Do they think you're telling? Do they think you're being like serious, and then they realize you're joking? Is it those kind of jokes?
No, they just don't think it's funny, or they think it's inappropriate now.
Yeah, because I have this thing where like I just lie a lot, and I tell lies that everyone should know our jokes.
Right.
That everyone should know our lies, but then if you say it with a straight face, some people just believe you and they just think, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, how can you? Like I told my family my snake died. I had a snake for 20 years. He just died.
Did he really?
Yeah. And they said, what'd you do? They said, what'd you flush him down the toilet? I said, yeah, I flushed him. He was like, a 5.5 foot snake. And they're like, oh my God, you flushed down the toilet? I'm like, yeah, but it didn't get all the way. Like, what do you mean? It's still like kind of hanging out the side. And then, like, today I'm having lunch with my brother, and he goes, so did you ever get that snake out of your toilet? I'm like, what?
Yeah, I had to go get a snake.
And he was like, I was like, oh, yeah, no, it's still there. I mean, it's just like a skeleton now, but eventually enough flushes will get it. He's like, it's been weeks. And I'm like, how? You went to college.
Yeah.
You really believe
Right.
that for a month I've had a dead snake hanging out the side of my toilet, my only toilet.
You have a dead snake between your legs. That's different.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I always judge the intelligence of children by, I'm being serious here, by my ability to lie to them. And if they laugh, I know they're smart. That's how I judge kids. That you can tell them the most amazing stories and they laugh. But adults, some adults will believe anything you tell them.
Yeah. I remember I had a friend who really believed it when he moved to Hollywood, and for like months, he thought I was telling the truth when I said Tom Cruise was 4'2". Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but why would? He's like, well, you said it with a straight face. I'm like, is that really all it takes?
Now, you believe that the joke about... I won't do it. No. It's a 9/11 joke. I'm not going to do it.
Of all the things you've said today.
We've been fucking dogs. We've got
I don't have
snakes out of toilets.
I won't joke about 9/11.
Fucking gagged women.
My second wife was in one of the towers, and she survived, and I can't joke about it
because you're so upset she survived?
Yes.
Oh, God.
All right, you guys. Well, this has been fun.
Oh,
See?
really? You think so?
I think so. See, Dave called it. He said it was going to be fun, and it was fun.
It was.
But we're going to have to wrap it up. But before we go...
This was the quickest half hour I've ever done.
Oh, yeah. No, it was just...
How
flew
long
by.
did we do?
2 hours.
2 hours.
No.
Yeah.
It was 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Is it really 2 hours?
it's
Yeah,
been 2
but
hours.
it's going to be confusing because no one listening to this listened for 2 straight hours. So I don't think anyone's going to understand that what we're talking about.
I thought it was great.
We'll figure it out.
It was great. No one's
I
going to
can't
hear
believe-
it,
I
but it
can't-
was great.
Was it really 2 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
was
9
2
o'clock.
hours. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But before we go, just where can everybody follow you on social media? What do you have coming up? What gigs do you have going on?
Well, I have a podcast, The David Feldman Show, that you can download on iTunes. And Dave Cyrus does it. Hopefully you'll do it.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you.
And it's a great show because I have great guests and I keep my mouth shut.
Such guests he has.
Great
Fred
guest.
Stoller, Judd Apatow. That's it.
That's
all the famous people who have ever been on that show.
We
But
didn't
lots
get
of, lots of very good political guests.
We didn't get hired for that show.
Alan Grayson.
We didn't get hired for that
our
show.
cartoon president?
Did you have to submit?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I wasn't offered to submit, so it's not like
People hate us.
I don't think I was offered to submit. It might have been. I mean, sometimes I just don't submit anything because I'm busy with stuff. So it could have been during that window.
Are you a comedy writer?
Just stand up.
I'm going to stand up.
But I mean, I know Leach is on it. I know RJ's on it, and no, I'm very happy for them. Those are great guys.
My phone should just ring because of who I am.
Yeah.
I should not have to ask for work.
You're an Emmy Award nominee,
People should
aren't
just
you?
give me money.
Are you an Emmy nominee or just a WGA
Emmy
winner?
nominee?
Yeah. Are you an Emmy nominee or just a
I've
WGA winner?
I've won many Emmys, young man.
Oh, with With what? Dennis
Some stuff
Miller?
I did for HBO.
Oh, you can't talk about it? You can't talk about what shows you worked on HBO?
I rather not.
NDA.
NDA.
Yeah. That's a weird thing to not be able to talk about where you got your awards. But no, you're an accomplished writer.
And and people should just give me money for breathing.
I mean, that is essentially what your attitude is about writing packets. I know. I mean, not that you're wrong to hate them. They are a lot of goddamn work.
Not only am I against writing packets to get a job, but when I'm hired, I'm opposed to just writing in general. I don't feel.
I remember The Office.
Was I that bad?
All I remember is people having to tell me that you screaming about your divorce on the phone is not a bit, because it seemed so much like a bit. It was one of those things where you're like, is that he's not really on the phone, right? He's not really on the phone. He's doing this because he's trying to make everyone feel happy in the office and doing a little Feldman bit, and everyone's just like, nope, that's just how he screams. That's just.
Was I screaming?
Oh, it was hilarious.
Who was I screaming at?
Your wife's lawyer, or about
my lawyer.
Your lawyer about your. It was. Yeah, I know you weren't screaming at your wife. I know you never did that.
I know,
No,
never.
you scream about about her lawyer.
No.
You never said anything mean about your wife at all. No. That's true.
I went through 4 divorce attorneys.
Right.
And if you're a divorce attorney and you're listening, take the wheel of the car and just drive it into a tree, please. But accelerate as much as you can.
And on that note, we're going to have Dave Sirus tell everybody where they can follow him. And
Dave Sirus, Sirus is my name. It's my Twitter handle, my Instagram. Go ahead and say hello to those things. I don't know when this will be on, but I have some roast battles coming up. If you happen to hear this, the 22nd is Christian Finnegan at New York Comedy Club, and the 27th is the championship with Eli Sayers at the Stand.
Nice.
So I have the two biggest roast battles I've ever been in the same week. So that's a big thing I'm working on right now. And
I'm coming to that Thursday.
Great.
Put me on the list.
Yes, you're on the list. I'll make sure they don't charge you for drinks. But yeah, go ahead and check those out.
awesome. All right. And you can follow me on Twitter at Maryssa Smith. And we will be back soon, you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great night. Bye.